We've got blue skies. Welcome back to Meadowcroft Farm, everyone. It is a glorious day today, as you can see. Lovely blue skies, cool mornings, cool evenings. Daytime temperatures still pretty warm, but this is what winter in the tropics should look like. And hopefully we get more of it. So I have spent the morning on this glorious day cleaning the house, because that's a necessary evil, but that's done. And Ian is busy weed spraying. There's not a breath of air, so perfect time to go spraying. So that's what he's doing today. I've got on top of the housework and the laundry and all of that really boring, tedious, awful stuff that we have to do, but that's all done now. So I just wanted to catch up with you guys, let you know what we've been up to and what we still have to do. Lots. But yeah, just today is just perfect, and hopefully we get more days like this throughout winter, because that's the time where we can catch up on a lot of the things that we need to do. Hard in the wet season because it's the wet season, so it's rainy and it's humid, and that's our picking season anyway. So we do a lot of picking and packing and taking fruit to the transport company, so on and so on. But our season is finished now, which is good and bad. So bad because the season's finished, so there's no money. But the season will start up again in November, so it gives us some time to catch up on all the things that we need to do, and it's the perfect time to do it when we've got days like this. So I have been at work for the last few days. Ian has managed to finish pruning the jackfruit trellises, tick, and has finished pruning the canistel trellises, tick. And so the next priority is to start and prune the freestanding jackfruits, which are the ones behind me. Get on top of that, because we really need to do that before the start of the next season in November. So that will be the next priority. After that, we will be probably taking out the dragon fruits. So let me take you down there. Okay, so these are all of our dragon fruit trellises, which we will be removing. The dragon fruits were one of the first crops that we put in, and they've been really good for us because they produced really quickly and gave us an income really quickly. But compared to the jackfruits and the canistels, they are a lot harder to maintain. These things are like weeds. Like seriously, the pruning with dragon fruits, they just never stop. The purples especially, they are monsters. So the pruning just takes up so much time. Picking is more difficult, and we get a lot of wastage with the dragon fruits because they can look quite scruffy, they can be small, they can split if we get too much rain. They're harder to pack. The shelf life isn't as good. So ultimately, the jackfruits are the better crop for us. And because we're only on 7 acres here, we really want to maximize the land that we've got. And the jackfruits will just be a better crop for us. They're a lot easier to maintain, easier to pick, easier to send away, more demand for them, better money for them. So for many reasons, it makes sense to go with that. And we were very, very grateful for the dragon fruit crop, because like I say, it was one of the first crops that we put in, and we have had some decent income from them, but it's time that they went. So this is the very last crop, and it wasn't enough to send away, unfortunately. So these will probably end up in my belly. And Stumpy's, because apparently Stumpy likes dragon fruits as well. Who knew? He's turned into a little fruit bat. So that will be this will be a huge job. And when we've tried to, ordinarily when we prune these things, it's really hard to get rid of them, because you can't just put them all in a pile and hope that they'll rot, because they won't. They will sprout roots, let me tell you. So, hello. So what we normally do is we will prune them, and then we'll chuck the cuttings into the interrows, and then Ian will run over them with the mower, over them and over them and over them, and eventually that seems to get rid of them. But that, you know, that's not the best way of doing it. And so then we bought the mulcher, and we had a go. We took out the purple dragon fruits because they literally are the most vigorous and they're really spiny. So we took out the purple dragon fruits just to see what happened. We put them through the mulcher and it worked. So we mulched them, which is great. Got rid of them. Lots of green slime. It literally is like a scene from the Ghostbusters when we try and mulch these things. So that's the plan. But first of all, we do need to sort out the freestanding jackfruits and get them pruned. But Ian's spraying today, so we'll do that together. We'll do the freestanding jackfruits together. And then we'll come down. Hopefully, if we can get more days like this, that will be good, because to start and prune these things, we really need to use those battery operated pruners, because they can be really harsh using hand pruners. It's really tough going. It takes double the time that it would with the battery pruners. So hopefully if we can get some more sunny days, we'll come down with the battery pruners and we'll start hacking away at these, put them through the mulcher, and then eventually we'll turn these over to jackfruits. Yay! So this is our packing area. Stumpy, say good day. Good boy. This is where we pack the fruit, cold room, so on and so on. We did order some shelving system to take away those tables. The shelving system will be a lot better to pack canistels, but unfortunately they screwed up the order, so it had to be reordered, and the canistel season came and went and we still don't have the shelving system, so we made do with what we had. But hopefully it will arrive in time for next year's canistel season. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so it's a work in progress. We're getting there. It's getting a lot better. We do need to, what we want to do is extend this carport section out to go sort of past that little shed there, because in the wet season when we're trying to load the boxes, all our boxes are cardboard, so we pack canistels and jackfruits into cardboard boxes, which, as you can imagine, in the wet season is a little bit tricky. So if we can cover this area and extend that carport out, we will have somewhere to load the trailer up out of the weather, which will be great. But in order to do that, we need to get rid of this mess. Yeah, that's another job. So what happened here was that we had a huge rain tree, and the rain tree, the limbs of the rain tree were extending over the packing area shed and causing all sorts of problems with mold and leaves and poor drainage. And the other problem that we had with the rain tree was the roots. So it was huge. This rain tree was huge. And look, we don't like cutting out trees, but this one had to go. It was very close to the shed, and the roots were starting to travel towards the shed, down to the house. We had a lot of plumbing issues. It's got to get out of the sun. It's starting to warm up now. We had a lot of plumbing issues where the roots were tapping into our plumbing, and yeah, it was a nightmare. So we had a good friend, Green Ant. You're a legend, Green Ant. He came and helped us to get rid of this huge rain tree, but which we need to get rid of. So that's another job. The rain tree was massive, and the good thing about it was that it was so big that one of Green Ant's friends who does slabbing, he really wanted to come and slab the trunk. So he said that if he could come and slab it and take away whatever he wanted, that we would get a slab out of it, which was great. So we've got this huge slab from the rain tree that is drying in our box room garage area to the house. It needs to dry for about 2 years, and then after that we'll be able to fix it up, and it will be our dining table, which will be awesome. So yeah, so that's another project, is that we have to fix all of this up. Now, as well as all of those other jobs that I've just mentioned, we also have a nursery full of jackfruit seedlings. So over the last season, we've been collecting jackfruits that we couldn't send away and harvesting the seeds to make seedlings. Those seedlings need to be planted out into the orchard so that in a couple of months' time, we can hopefully start and graft them. So what we found is we were more successful grafting in the field than we are in the nursery. But what happened was, a couple of years ago, we did the same thing. We harvested seeds, we grew on a whole nursery full of seedlings, and we planted them out. Stumpy! Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Had to get Stumpy out of the shed full of sharp instruments. Yeah, so where was I? A couple of years ago, we planted out the orchard with a whole heap of jackfruit seedlings, and they started getting decimated, like completely, all of their leaves, and dying, obviously. And initially we thought it was grasshoppers, but then I came home from work late one night, so I was still doing shift work then, came home at about 11 o'clock at night, and the headlights of the car strayed into wallabies. So I could see all of these wallabies up ahead in our paddock, and I knew straight away that's what it is. It's wallabies. So we got wallabies coming in. They were eating all of our seedlings, which was just devastating. We'd spent all season raising the seeds, repotting them up, planting them out, and they were just getting annihilated by wallabies that had just found their new local supermarket here on our farm. So we tried a few different things. We'd read that blood and bone will stop them coming round because it smells of death. So we went out and bought a truckload of blood and bone and sprinkled that out. And of course, if it rains, you got to do it again. And that didn't work. So don't try that. It didn't work. Then a friend of ours said, oh, well, you know, you've got a dog. So, you know, they don't like the smell of dogs. They said they know that that's a predator. So, you know, just take your dog around and you know, so that his scent is in the paddock. So every night Ian would take Stumpy around the paddock on the great wallaby hunt. I mean, he was on a lead, so he couldn't hurt them. And, you know, if they saw him, they would go away, and we'd get Stumpy to do his pees and his poos in the paddock and what have you, in the hope that maybe his scent would stop them from coming back. It didn't. And so their numbers just kept increasing. They told all their friends, hey, come round here because, you know, we've got all this nice, fresh, new baby leaves that we can eat. So ultimately, after trial and error of different things, we had to do what we really didn't want to do, and fence the entire orchard. So 7 acres, which doesn't sound a lot compared to some farms, but we decided that the only thing that we could do would be to fence it off. So that was a huge job. And of course, with what happens with farming quite often is that one job then creates several more jobs. So yeah, we wanted to put the fencing in because it was the only way we were going to stop the wallabies. Oh, before that, we did think that if we put cages around the trees, that might help. So we spent many a night with wire on the lounge room floor, measuring it out, cutting it, wrapping it into circles, securing it with cable ties, and then bamboo sticks. And then we went around and we put them over every single tree in the orchard. And that did work to a certain extent, but the wallabies soon learned that they could push those things over, that when the trees started coming out at the top of the wire cages, that they could then eat those leaves. So it worked, but it didn't work. So we knew that ultimately we just had to fence. So yeah, we started doing the fencing, but there was a lot of trees that were in the way. The boundary, over the years, the boundary obviously was creeping in. So there were a lot of weed trees that we had to take out in order to do the fencing. So that was a huge, huge job. and last year was particularly difficult for us. We were really busy. We were burning the candle at both ends. I had to pick up extra shifts at work because of COVID. I was traveling to Cairns, which is a 3-hour trip there and back, so I had to stay there overnight to help with the COVID campaign. So that was extra shifts, and then when that finished, I took on extra shifts at the local hospital to help them with their COVID campaign. So I wasn't on the farm as much. I was pretty much working full time. And in the meantime, we had the fencing to do. Green Ant came to, now there's a helicopter, of course. Green Ant came to take the rain tree down, and we got behind with the pruning, the spraying, the mowing, you name it. It was just that the work was just piling up, and we just couldn't get to it because the fencing was just took over everything, and as well as other things at the same time. I wasn't here all that much, and so then in November Ian had a heart attack, and that was you know, I really believe that the stress of that year probably brought that on. Certainly didn't help, and thankfully he's here to tell the tale, which is great, but it really made us reevaluate. You know, we went through a period where we thought, are we doing the right thing? Should we keep going? And I'm glad that we did. But we are more conscious now of our time. And, you know, if we need to take a day off and we need to rest, then that's what we do. Because you can't do everything. And last year, like I say, was it was full on. There was a lot going on in both of our lives. So anyway, that's enough of that. That's really sad and horrible. But we're back to it now, and hopefully we can get on top of planting out these jackfruit. So we're hoping that the soil starts to dry up a little bit, because it's been really rainy the last month or so, and so when we checked last week, the soil was still quite clayey, which is not ideal for planting out. So we just need it to dry up a little bit more so it becomes a little bit more crumbly, and then we can get all of these seedlings out. I'll show you the seedlings. So here are all of our little babies. Aren't they beautiful? And they are literally ready to be planted out. Like, these can be planted out right now. Ready for grafting in a couple of months, but yeah, we just need to wait for the soil texture to just dry out a little bit so that we can get these out, and then hopefully in a couple of months we'll be right to graft. And now we've got the fencing, we don't have a problem with wallabies. And look, honestly, the fencing was one of the best things that we probably did. It was time consuming, it was hard work, but now we don't have the wallabies coming in destroying our crops, and Stumpy can get out and play. So the other thing that happened last year, which was really sad, is that our little Cocker Spaniel Barney, we had to say goodbye to him, and that was in May last year. So that was a really awful time as well. It didn't help, and we really struggled. He left a big void, but the good that came out of that was that we managed to rescue little Stumpy. He's just chilling out on the veranda there. We managed to rescue Stumpy from the rescue centre. So he'd been in the rescue centre for about 6 months. And if we hadn't put the fencing in, he wouldn't be able to run around like he does, because we would have been worried that he would have ran away. Also, we get cassowaries around here. If ever I see one at the back of the fence line, I will video a cassowary for you. They used to scare me. They didn't scare Ian, he was never bothered about them, but me. They sneak up on you. They are so quiet, but literally they are as tall as me. Maybe not quite, but almost. And you couldn't hear them coming. The chickens were louder than the cassowaries. So I'd be hanging the washing out, or, you know, doing stuff in the garden bed or on the farm, whatever it was, and then all of a sudden you'd have this huge prehistoric cassowary looking over your shoulder. Ugh. So now, I'm not so scared when I'm in the paddock because we've got the fence in, and it's probably good for them because they used to come in looking for the fruit, and that's not their natural food. So they used to come in and they'd eat the canistels, they'd eat the jackfruits, and that's not what they should be eating. They eat the food in the bush. So it's probably good that they don't come round now and get too reliant on the farm. And yeah, Stumpy can come out and play. There's no wallabies coming in, so the fencing did work out really well for us, so we are glad that we did it in the end. My garden beds are coming along really well. My beetroots are coming out now, which is great. And I come over here because I was hoping that there would have been some butterflies for me to show you. We've got these plants that the butterflies really love. And this morning there was lots of Ulysses butterflies. And but of course now I'm here with the camera. There's no butterflies. So watch this space. If they come back, I will video some of the butterflies. So that's where we're up to. We got a lot to do. We've still got to get rid of all this bamboo that's lying around the place just behind me there. Yeah, we'll get there. All right, bye for now.